History is full of fascinating stories. We all know that. But are you sure that these stories are 100% correct? Or there might be a missing side of the story? To answer this question, we can ask ourselves first, who are the people who are responsible to write this history? And when I talk about history, I don't mean only 1,000 years ago, but perhaps 5,000 years ago, the beginning of humanity, or even before that. Who are the people responsible? Were they writers like today? Were they poets? Were they the philosophers? Are all the philosophers that we've read about in books in school, were these the only philosophers out there? Or some philosophers were there, but we never heard about, and we will never hear about? So who owned the pen? Who wrote the history back then? If we go and visit any ancient culture, we will find temples. And mostly in the ancient times, they documented their stories inside the temple, whether through drawings or symbols. But do we have a guarantee that these stories were the only stories there? Or there might be another side of the story? Perhaps imagine if you are an ancient king or queen, and after you took your throne, now you're the king or queen, you read what was written on the temple and you said, no, I don't like that. Remove what's written, and I'm going to write my own story. Right? And archaeologists proved that through their own experiments, that many of the stories on temples in different cultures were erased and rewritten. So this means the writer back then was the ruler. So the story we know, all the stories we know about history were written from only one side. But let us imagine again, if there was another temple created for the free writers and journalists, perhaps would we have heard a different story? Yeah? But let us not spend too much time in history now, because today we are given a different opportunity. Today we are given the freedom of the pen. How? With technology and social media, we are all contributing into tomorrow's history. So let's say 1,000 years from today, humanity can search back and know the different perspectives, different challenges, and different points of view that we had in life, in different cultures as well. So how comprehensive this is going to be. So today we are given this opportunity. I would like to ask you, how many of you are contributing in tomorrow's history? Whether through writing an article, whether through publishing your own thoughts, your own research papers, whether having your own video on YouTube or any publishing platform. But even not all of us are given this opportunity, or not all of us know how to do that. And here comes the role of journalism. I have different careers. My main profession is human resources and management, but I'm also very passionate about journalism. Why is that? Because I found a certain kind of satisfaction into writing stories about other people, about publishing the success stories of people you might have not ever heard about. So if you see this picture, who deserves to be interviewed? The pawn or the queen? Both. Everyone has a different side of the story. Through journalism, we're going to know both sides. Even though many times I have random talks in the street, whether in the train, whether you're buying something, whether you bumped up into someone and you just had a conversation, and you realize how successful these people are. They have a fascinating story, but no one knows about. Did this ever happen to you? Just through a normal conversation. This is how I define journalism, is bringing these stories into life. Through my career, I have interviewed around 250 people in the last couple of years, and with those people including artists, CEOs, students, teachers, everyone. I've mainly interviewed people from all different segments, and every interview, I would learn something new. So everyone I have interviewed, I consider a mentor to me. So it's not just about publishing an article. No, I'm gaining lots of knowledge. And this knowledge I'm gaining, I'm publishing it and sharing it with all the readers, with everyone. This is some of the feedbacks I got from interviews. Let us analyze them together, okay? Allow me to read. The questions are very thoughtful. I enjoyed them very much. This was Sylvia. She's a CEO and happiness consultant. I interviewed her in one of my articles. Another comment, sorry. Your questions were excellent. I enjoyed this one as one of my top print interviews. Author and career counselor, Christine. The third one, this was the most intelligent and exhausting interview I have ever done. It was a challenge to my thoughts and at the same time exciting to explore. So from these comments, usually a person would thank a journalist for making them, writing an article about them or publishing about them. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for making my story brought to life and everyone knows about it. But they were thanking me for different reasons. Have you noticed that? So I tried to gather some of their comments and I put them in this model. So you would find some of their comments: intelligent, thoughtful, enjoyable, exploring, challenging. This is similar to the experience of coaching or mentoring. You know, when you coach someone, you try to help them become a better version of themselves and to think of new and different ideas. Correct? This is what happened. It was not just an interview for journalism. The way you ask the question is the way that makes the difference. We are lucky these days because probably not so far away ago, journalism and media was mainly about either politics, economics, or fashion. Those were the people we saw on TV and newspapers and on the media. But now the media is extended to healthcare, business, engineering, even human resources, supporting young leaders, non-profit, animal rights. There is journalism in all of these segments. So whatever your career is, you will find a media platform specific for that. As a journalist, I have certain skills, but I believe that these skills are relevant to any profession. I want you to think with me. Journalism, I'm bringing a story of a person into life, correct? How about a marketing specialist or an advertising professional? I'm bringing the story of a product to life, correct? So I'm applying journalism. What about a researcher? Someone who works in research and development, for example, or marketing research even. I'm doing surveys, I'm doing analysis, I'm writing questions to analyze, to bring a story or a conclusion to the audience, to the people. This is journalism as well. What about a manager or a leader responsible for a group, a team? I am responsible of getting their own ideas, their original ideas, into light. I wouldn't say this is my work. No, this is the work of my team, and I will communicate their success stories to the rest of the company. This is internal journalism in an organization. So how can we utilize the talent of the journalist within us and use it in our own profession? So I've created like a few steps or a cycle that would help us create an outstanding interview. If you would see, first, the first step is understanding the purpose of my interview or my story. What is the theme about? Is it related to my organization? Is it related to my magazine? So I have to create this link first. The second step is analyzing the person I'm going to make an interview with. I should understand their background, their culture, their challenges. If they've worked in one place, or is this person a career shifter? What are the talents of this person? Etc., etc., etc. And then I start building a relationship between the person and the magazine. Let me give you an example, something I apply in some of my journalism workshops. I would give a challenging case to the students. I tell them, imagine you, and I want you to imagine this with me. Imagine you are all journalists and you're working for, let's say, a literature magazine or an arts magazine, a magazine that interviews poets, dancers, writers, singers, supports art. And then the editor-in-chief told you, no, the next interview, we want to make it different. All our competitors make the same exact interviews, but we are going to interview a bank manager in our arts magazine. Why are we going to do that? We want to prove that art is related to everyone, not only artists. And then you are a journalist, how am I going to create questions like that? So that's one example. So in this case, we analyze the bank manager. The bank manager means I deal with people. There's a certain kind of art in dealing and managing people. That's number one. The banking industry, it is stereotyped by being a very tough routine and perhaps not an innovative environment. That's a stereotype. So I can ask about the innovation in that, and innovation is linked to art, etc. That's one of the examples. Number three, I will connect the questions to society. Before I ask any question, I have to make sure what is the impact of this question on the person in front of me. Okay? So if I ask a normal question, I'm going to get probably a normal answer. If I ask a complicated and smart question, I'm going to get a better answer. Therefore, the reader is going to be more satisfied. As I told you, it's like a coaching session. And this leads us to the next point. I should balance between personal and professional questions. Because even in coaching, even in an experience with someone, if you're reading an interview that is all formal, for example, if it's a management magazine, all the questions are related to management, you'll get bored. You have to break this by asking two personal questions, for example, because people or readers are also interested to know about the personal life of this person. Last and the most important point is triggering the imagination and knowledge of this person. How do we trigger our own imagination? If I'm asked a question that I never thought about before, that's how you trigger my imagination. That's how you make me to start think in a different way. That's the true essence of coaching. Oh, I never thought about that idea before. But through journalism, I can ask you a question in the interview that makes you think in a different way. So let me give you examples. I could ask a case study question, a challenge you have been through, and how did you pass this challenge? I can ask you a question about what if, starts with what if. So I put a scenario, an imaginative scenario, you start imagining it, and you start creating an answer. Let's say if you are a student, I can ask you, what if you're the Minister of Education? What would you do for schools? So you start imagining, and perhaps you'll come up with great ideas. So how can journalism change the world? How does it impact the world? Let me give you an example. Just yesterday, I had a workshop with a school, and the students were amazing. They were intelligent. And I'm so happy they are here today. And through the interview, I've divided them into groups Each group were asked to interview a teacher. Another group was asked to interview a handcrafts person, a restaurant owner, and to interview a tree. Imagine if the tree can talk and you can make an interview with the tree. So let me give you an example of the answers. Regarding the teacher, their questions were about the challenges the teacher face. How do they face these challenges and how do they communicate with the student? What are their personal challenges? If they have any other talents. The restaurant owner, they asked about business, they asked about management, they asked about society. So all of this is something I can learn from. The handcrafts person, they asked about their copyrights when they sell their product into to a bigger business so that they can put their own brand on the product, and so on. The tree, they asked about the environment, and if this tree, that was a what-if question, what if this tree was responsible for a non-profit agency that protects the environment? How it would protect the other trees? So this is exactly how journalism can impact the world. Through this model, I designed it to summarize everything. There's a micro effect and there's a macro effect, and they're both important. Micro effect is I have an impact on the person I'm making the interview with. The macro effect is on society. So let us go through this cycle together. The first thing is I'm documenting the success of a person. The second is I'm giving this person recognition. You have done something that perhaps no one else knows about, and I'm giving you recognition. You deserve to have your story published and empower your own image and self-brand. Next step is you're spreading happiness to society. Because when I interview someone and I find this interview published and everyone is happy around them, I'm spreading happiness. I'm providing coaching and development to this person through the interview, and I'm sharing knowledge that is available for everyone to read about. The last point is the impact on society. Is there's a process called knowledge management used in organizations, that we as human beings who don't have to start from scratch, who can start from the knowledge of others. So this is also what media is doing. This is what TED and TEDx are doing. By having all these videos available online for free, you go and learn, and you don't start from scratch. You learn from others' ideas, and you start from a high level. Exactly, journalism does the same. Every one of us is a journalist their own way. We can impact the ones around us, in whatever profession we are in. So I would ask you to be encouraged, to start by yourself, to write your own story first, whether through the pen, through the mic, through the keyboard, through the touch screen, or through your actions. Take action into being part of tomorrow's history. Thank you so much.